Rust. What is Rust? Rust is a video game. Let's just look it up. Hold on. Rust is an iron oxide, a usually reddish-brown oxide formed by the reaction of iron and oxygen in the catalytic... That's not it. Rust is like a toxic relationship that I just keep coming back to, again and again. No matter how much it hurts me, somehow the good still outweighs the bad. Out of all the games I've played, undoubtedly, Rust has given me the most adrenaline and thrill. Things are different now. I have a wife, a house to maintain,
a dog to take care of.
Every time I get the itch to play, I just brush it off and play something less demanding of my time. So I'm making this video to answer one simple question. Can a 9-to-5 wage slave actually get something out of solo vanilla Rust? There's something about waking up as a naked freshie on a beach. It's liberating. It's like, no matter what happens to me, I know that I'm just going to be right back where I started. I consult my map, and I try to find a route that I can take to get as far from the beach as I can. Already, I'm starting to think about where do I want to set up a base at.
Shots fired. My goodness. I will have no choice but to investigate.
Nope. It's important to pick your battles. I only have a rock. It's crazy to think that in 2 days this has already been built up and rated. It's gonna take a little looky-loo, I'm sure they won't mind.
Didn't I tell you? Isn't it great?
They can't all be winners, but you certainly have to check. It's already getting dark. At this point, I really need to focus on getting a base down. I'm probably gonna need to move a little further north, I'm gonna say. Like, probably aiming around Junkyard. Ooh, we got a goblin with a torch. And he's getting closer. If you stay perfectly still, he can't actually see you. Oh, I didn't expect that to work. Beautiful. As far as encounters with people after you've been harvesting wood goes, this is actually pretty chill.
Yeah, just drop it off. Just drop it off. Just don't waste time. Just drop everything. Just drop everything. I'll take your spawn shit too, bro. Alright, man. Have a good day.
This marks the first time that I feel like I can actually breathe a little bit. Like, I'm not very safe in a wooden 2x1, but it's better than nothing, and at least I know that if someone wants to get my stuff, they'll have to take a little bit of time and energy to get through a door. At any rate, I know I can't even really take a break until I at least get this base upgraded a little bit more. If I haven't made it perfectly clear already, it's time to be upfront with you. There's not going to be any snowball happening in this playthrough. I'm not gonna go off on a crazy rampage, go deep on a base, and pull out a ton of loot. This is just gonna be me doing my best in vanilla Rust. As someone who hasn't really played it seriously in years, and even at that point probably has less than 300 hours total in the game, a lot of the Rust that I have played has been on solo, duo, trio, 2x, 3x servers with a couple buddies. So solo vanilla is quite a jarring experience compared to that. Like, I may or may not have a positive KD against Boar on this wipe. At any rate, I get my metal doors up, and it's time to make dinner. So I have to get off for the night and just hope that it's still here tomorrow. Here we have another already rated base, only this time, we actually get something out of it. There's something so satisfying about knowing that all of this wood and stone is now wood and stone that I don't have to gather. After getting my ass handed to me, I figured this would be a good time to just spawn into a different bag and make a scrap run back to my base. I just don't want to end up like this guy. Taking advantage of sleeping bags like this can be really useful when you build your base in a secluded spot like I did, far away from any monuments that you can loot. The only downside being that once you loot that monument, you'll have a pretty long run back to base.
My friend, you seem to have taken a tumble. I suppose he does not need it as much as I do.
After a good 10-minute run, I'm finally back, and look at that fairly modest loot haul. It's not a lot, but I need every little bit of it. After a full night of inventory management, I decide I'm really unhappy with where my current base is at, and I find this little secluded spot surrounded by trees not far from my current base, which it's going to make it a lot easier to move stuff over eventually. Now, in hindsight, this is not how you build your second base. This is still like a starter 2x1. There's a lot I could have done differently. After watching a couple videos, I realized, yeah, I'd forgotten a lot of the strategies for base building in this game. I also threw away a lot of wood, upgrading the walls for no reason, so there's that. And this is my first time seeing the new workbench system. I don't know how new this actually is because I haven't played Rust in a couple years, but apparently now you can just research everything for scrap without actually finding it first, which is awesome. The days of looking for revolver pistols on people for like hours is gone. You can just farm scrap and get to a water pipe shotgun. So immediately that becomes my plan. I need as much scrap as I can get as quickly as I can get it. Now that I've proven how much of an absolute unit I am with the bow and arrow, you can consider this next section of the video the dark era of my Rust wipe. At this point in the wipe, it's Monday, I get off of work, and I find that my base is still standing. Not only that, but the base at the top of the hill, the one I was most worried about, has actually been raided itself. I find a nice stack of armor and weapons and tools in here, but the real big vulture grab of this is the tier 2 workbench, which is just going to save me a ton of time in terms of farming scrap. Every one of these upgrades represents a junkyard run, maybe 2. I'm a pretty slow scrap farmer because I'm a little more careful than I need to be running back to base. Getting the water pipe shotgun though is a massive landmark. It's going to be the equalizer that actually enables me to kill people with more gear than me. If you don't enjoy the just basic action of mining rocks and trees, then you might not end up having a great time with this game, especially if you're a 9-to-5er like me and you don't have that much time to play. It's just always going to come back to farming these materials. Here I'm honeycombing my base, maybe not in the most efficient way, but my mentality is if I have something in my base, I want people to really feel like they've wasted their resources getting in there. I just want to be certain that if someone raids me that they really regret it, that they expend way more sulfur than any value that they're going to get out of my base, which they would be pretty disappointed if they looted my chests. After quite a bit of time upgrading my base, the next day we're right back to farming scrap. And that's when I hear a jackhammer hard at work. This is the adrenaline that I was talking about. The butthole clenching moment where you're running back to your base and that guy's buddy is just raining hellfire upon you and you're praying that he doesn't have good aim. I'm going to leave this uncut just so you can appreciate how badly I wanted this victory. I did it. I finally did it. I made a play. A tiny little baby play. It means a lot to me in this moment to have this MP5, this tier 3 weapon back in my base. I earned it. I farmed the scrap. I got the water pipe. You know, I didn't just camp a monument. I was just minding my own business, farming barrels, and it fell into my lap. So you gotta take what you can get. And since we're already on the subject of taking what you can get, he's a small fish, but he's my fish. And even though I barely have over 100 scrap, I still just wait for nighttime to run back like a scaredy pants. Now, this being a weekly server, we're already rapidly approaching the end of wipe. On top of that, I'm in the middle of a work week, so the main thing I want to do before I call it quits on this server is raid a base. In fact, I have a small 2x2 very close to where I live with a wooden door, and I'm just dying to see what's inside of it. I know it's not going to be a profitable raid, but raiding is just such an awesome part of the Rust experience, I had to go for it. For those who don't play Rust, these explosions are signaling to everyone in a very large radius that a raid is happening, and everyone sees that as an opportunity to capitalize on the potential loot. Kinda show how non-meta I am again, trying to place a door when I don't have control over TC. As I said before, my expectations for loot were really low, and my expectations were met. I was surprised though to actually find a little bit of sulfur, a meager amount of sulfur, but sulfur nonetheless. I return with one more satchel charge for the TC, get my door down, and collect my spoils. And what a bounty it was. At the very least, now I have a third base I can use to fall back into if I'm ever getting attacked and I'm in that area. The next day I catch one of my neighbors chopping some wood, and I decide to not be a very nice neighbor. Nail him with a headshot, and completely embarrass myself with a revolver pistol. Naturally, since my pride has already been damaged, I decide to door camp him. However, when he jumps out of his base, he has nothing on him, and I just can't bring myself to do it.
Hello. Hello there.
Out of sheer embarrassment and shame, I decide to just start throwing him things out of my inventory.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, what? What is this? Whoa, thanks, man. Cool, pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool.
And with that, a sacred alliance was born.
We'll join our houses.
So later that day, when I suspect some funny business is going on beside my neighbor's house, I decide to intervene. This ends up being one of my better loot pulls from a kill on this wipe. I don't know what was going on with this guy, or why he had the collection of stuff that he had, or what that body on the floor was. I'm just happy to get the kill, and it was all in the pursuit of protecting my neighbor. Being a little disappointed with my first raid, and with the leftover sulfur, I decide to pick one more target to raid before I get off the server. This base at least has a metal door, and we see a key lock indicating that it's a solo, and I decide since it's so close to my base, this is going to be my best chance. The next day, after getting home, I find that my base has actually been raided. Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking. It's pretty obvious that this is not the way you get into my base. I'm just gonna count myself lucky. The only thing left to do now is farm an absolute crap ton of sulfur, which I'm mostly gonna do off camera, but here's a small glimpse into that process. At some point, I stumble across this base with a TC exposed, and I just water pipe my way in. And it's actually a lot more profitable than my other satchel charge raid, so that makes me feel great. I've got my little go box ready with everything I'm going to need to raid the base, but I decided to do a little scouting mission first. After all, these 8 satchel charges I'm bringing up here to raid are kind of the most valuable thing I've had on my person at any point. It is courtesy before you raid someone to give them a knock. The coast looks pretty clear, so I decide to move forward with the raid. Now, this server's population is dwindling as it approaches wipe. When I started, I think it was somewhere around 180 out of 200 if I remember correctly, and on these last couple days, it's consistently staying below 100. So that happened. I'm not proud of it, but at the very least you can't say that I fake my rating content. I mean, come on, you can't come up with this stuff. And just like that, we're in. Thankfully, he didn't have another double door that I had to get through to get to his TC, and his TC was unlocked, making the whole thing a lot easier. Now, if I was after a massive amount of stone, this would be a pretty nice raid. He did have a good amount of metal though, and a lot of crafting materials. But in all honesty, I knew anything I got out of this base wasn't going to be used. This pretty much marks the end of anything I intended to do with my rust wipe. The only thing left is to get it back to base safely. Fighter jets, another thing I've yet to see in this game. So, can a 9-to-5 wage slave actually enjoy solo vanilla Rust? I think so. I had a good time. There was a lot of intensity, there was a lot of adrenaline, everything I expected. I really wasn't sure how far I was gonna get, just barely dipped my toes into tier 2, only a couple kills, but I knocked down some doors, I got some research done, and at least that kind of enables me to come back to the server whenever it wipes and have some blueprints unlocked. This game definitely isn't for everyone. More or less, it was just sheer luck that I didn't come home from work one day and find my base completely gone. I was surprised to not find my base raided, but in all honesty, it was probably just too small and newbie for anyone to think it worth their while, and they would have been correct. But if you're a competitive gamer like me, and you enjoy the open world survival game genre, I think it's kind of a perfect formula. Games like DayZ just kind of deliver this experience in a different way, but I've always been really just content with the way that Rust delivers it. And that's pretty much it. This has been Miniwin. This is the hardest I've ever worked on a single project in my entire life. This is a new editing software. Everything about this is new to me. All of the music is handmade by me. I kind of underestimated how intense it would be to cut together a 20-ish minute video from, 8 hours of game footage. It's a lot, and major respect to the other YouTubers that do it. If you have watched this whole video though, if you can tell by my channel size, I need all the help I can get, and expect more videos like this coming soon on all types of different games. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Peace out.